I'm still waiting for these Newtons to give back Beethoven to George and his family. I still want to find out why they had to stay there for another year on a business trip. So they have to conclude this storyline in the next film. They must. They have to, otherwise it'll just be left open air and we'll have to assume that George and his family are stuck in Europe forever. Welcome back to the series where we're looking at the films in the Beethoven film franchise. This time we're looking at Beethoven's Fifth, which came out in 2003, which was 2 years after the previous film. So the story follows a recasted Sarah Newton, Richard's daughter, who has to spend a month in Quicksilver with her uncle Freddie, along with Beethoven. Quicksilver is this crazy town with a bunch of very strange people living there, and when Beethoven finds a rare $10 note, everyone's keen to find this legendary stash of the rest of the notes from these two historical bank robbers. So the antagonist comes into one of these other people living in the town who just wants the money more than everyone else, basically. Before watching this film, I wanted it to conclude the year that the original Newtons were away for. But 20 minutes in, with the recasted Sarah Newton, with all these new characters, I knew that it wouldn't, and in a way, it made the film slightly more enjoyable, just because I wasn't so tied up throughout the film thinking, oh, when are they going to give the dog back? Beethoven's Fifth is a very plot-driven film. Most scenes explain the details to this backstory about these bank robbers. This film is so Scooby-Doo, it's unbelievable. You know, with the dog and the kids and the mystery. I only started thinking this towards the end, and then the antagonist literally said, "Oh, you darn kids ruined everything." Speaking of kids, I really couldn't care less for Sarah in this film. She wasn't a very prominent character in the previous two films. Sarah also meets this boy called Gareth in Quicksilver, who Freddie describes as the smartest kid in town. We never learn about who Gareth's parents are. They're perfectly fine with him just running off with these two other strangers. The kid's acting was fine, Sarah's voice was a bit annoying, but to be honest, I overlooked them anyway in the film because of how much plot there was to focus on. My complaints are that the other Newtons are now on holiday in Hawaii. I find this so ironic because it's almost a repeat of what happened with the original Newtons, so that's why Sarah's with Freddie, and I don't know why Richard and Beth couldn't just take her with them. It's also just such bad parenting, as Freddie is such a distant relative who hasn't seen Sarah for years. Also, where's Sarah's brother? Ideally, this film would have worked better with the cast of Beethoven's Third and Beethoven's Fourth. They could have altered the plot slightly with them going on holiday to Quicksilver, having the adventure there, and then ideally the film could have ended with them sending Beethoven off back in a crate to the original Newtons. But of course, that was never going to happen. This film is better than Beethoven's Fourth as things actually happen, but as a film in the franchise, it feels a lot more like a spin-off than a sequel. The music is by Adam Berry, and the soundtrack was pretty good. Beethoven's theme was included many times. It stayed faithful to the original soundtrack, but it also altered things and it added new parts as well, which I quite admired actually. On Rotten Tomatoes, the tomatometer is not available for top critics or all critics. The audience score is 32%, which is the best audience score since Beethoven, which had 35%. As this film was a straight-to-DVD release, I have no information on the budget or how well it did financially. And this film marks the end of the classic Beethoven chapter of the franchise. Overall, these first 5 films are kind of average. My biggest complaint has to be this unsolved mystery with the original Newtons and delaying George's business trip in Europe by another year. That was very unsatisfying, and I think they probably forgot about it by Beethoven's Fifth. They just forgot that, oh yeah, they were only looking after Beethoven for a year. Oh well. Anyway, thank you for watching this video, I really hope you enjoyed it. Next time we'll be looking at Beethoven's Big Break, which came out in 2008, so 5 years after this one. But it's a reboot as well, so we'll see where they take it. I'm interested but slightly worried as well. Thank you for watching this video. Goodbye.